Does the perfect protein meal in terms of quality actually exist? In today's video, I'm going to show you the best protein sources in terms of quality and how to combine different foods to create the perfect protein quality meal. But what exactly is protein quality? And no, it's not the amount of protein in a food. Protein quality is determined by how well your body digests a certain protein source, so how much of it actually gets used by your body, and by its essential amino acid profile. Protein is basically a combination of so-called amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. When we eat something like chicken breast, for example, our body breaks it down into the amino acids it's made of and then uses those to rebuild other proteins that we need to live, like collagen, for example. In total, our body needs 20 amino acids to build all the proteins it needs to function and survive. Now, this is important. 9 of them are what we call essential amino acids, or EAAs. These are the ones we need to eat through food. The other 11, however, are non-essential, which means our body can make them on its own if you are a healthy adult. So, for a protein source to be considered high in quality, it needs to have a sufficient amount of all essential amino acids, we call these complete proteins, and it needs to be highly digestible as well. The newest way to measure this is called the Digestible Indispensable Amino Acid Score, or DIAS for short. Foods that score above 1.0 on this scale are considered excellent protein sources. They give you more digestible essential amino acids than your body even needs. Everything below 1 is lower quality, and it goes all the way down to 0. Now, just to give an idea, one of the worst protein sources you can eat is gelatin or collagen. They score between 0.02 and 0.08. Only corn-based cereal is worse than that. So if you see a protein bar, for example, with collagen listed as the first ingredient, and sadly a lot of them do because it's cheap, then it's a low-quality protein bar and it's not something you should be eating regularly. So to build your perfect protein meal, we want to pick ingredients that are close to or above a score of 1. Let's start with the main protein source, and believe it or not, the absolute best protein source is a whey isolate protein shake. It has a score of 1.25 and it's the undisputed number 1. But since we want to build an actual meal, not just a shake, let's look at the top 4 real foods besides powder, and it's lean pork, lean beef, whole eggs, and chicken breast. All of these score above 1.1, and because lean pork and lean beef aren't always clearly defined, I'm gonna go with good old chicken breast. 100 grams of chicken breast also has around 22 grams of protein, which is excellent. And just so you know, whole eggs are actually higher in protein quality than egg whites. Even though the yolk has more fat and calories, the whole egg scores at 1.1, while the egg white is only 0.9. Also good news for the vegans out there, tofu and tempeh both have a DIAS score of 0.95, so almost excellent. They contain all essential amino acids, but they're slightly less digestible than meat, which is why they didn't get the 1.0. And for pescatarians, fish is just as good as meat in terms of quality. Cod scores at 1.12, salmon at 1.1, and tuna at 1.08. All of them are great sources of protein and give you more than enough essential amino acids. Next up is the side dish. Most of you have probably had chicken and rice hundreds of times in your life, but the protein in rice is not that great. It only scores at 0.6 because it lacks one essential amino acid. A better option would be boiled potatoes with a score of 0.9. I personally love boiled potatoes because they are super filling, even more than beef or eggs. Another decent one is red lentils. They score at 0.7. However, another top tier one with 0.9 is quinoa. And since I don't eat quinoa that often, and I'm guessing a lot of you don't either, I'm gonna add 50 grams of raw quinoa to the meal. Moving on to the volume fillers, and I will break this into vegetables and legumes. Some legumes actually have solid protein quality. Soybeans, for example, are a complete protein with a score of 0.98, which makes sense since tofu and tempeh are made from soy. Other good options are kidney beans with 0.88, chickpeas at 0.78, and black beans at 0.79. Green peas are tasty and I love them, but they are not a complete protein and they only score at 0.68. For this meal, I'm going with edamame, which is basically just young soybeans, so I'm adding another complete protein source to the mix. Next are the greens. Now, vegetables aren't meant to be protein sources. They have other great characteristics like micronutrients, but they still play a role. Out of all vegetables, broccoli actually has a decent protein quality for a vegetable with a score of 0.64. It has a pretty balanced amino acid profile, which is why I'm using it for this meal. Other decent options are spinach, Brussels sprouts or cauliflower. They all are around the 0.6 mark. Finally, let's talk sauce. And my main ingredient here is gonna be dairy. Dairy is made out of whey and casein protein, which are excellent sources of protein with a score of 1.1 and 1.2. Greek yogurt, skyr or cottage cheese, all of these are excellent sources of quality protein and are the perfect ingredient for a protein-rich sauce. I'm gonna make a Greek yogurt-based sauce that lasts in the fridge for up to a week. You just need a blender, a food processor, add 200 grams of non-fat Greek yogurt or skyr, 15 grams of olive oil, 10 grams of mustard, 10 grams of vinegar, a pinch of salt, and for flavor, I'm using 10 grams of fresh mint and 10 grams of fresh cilantro, or you can use basil or whatever fresh herbs you like. Blend it on high for 60 seconds until it's creamy and green, and the best way to store it is in one of those squeeze bottles. I got mine on Amazon for like €3 or dollars each. Just pour the sauce in, and like I said, you can store this in the fridge for up to a week. Now, to actually cook the meal, I'm gonna prepare 150 grams of broccoli florets and 100 grams of edamame. I buy them frozen, they're super easy to make. Just boil water with a pinch of salt, toss in the frozen edamame, let it simmer for about 5 minutes, then take it out and place it in a bowl. And same thing for the broccoli, simmer for around 5 minutes and then drain the water. Quinoa is also super easy. Just add 50 grams of quinoa to a pot with double the amount of water, so 100 grams, a pinch of salt, and maybe 5 grams of broth powder for flavor if you want. Bring it to a boil on high heat, then reduce the heat to low and let it cook for 15 minutes. Next is the chicken breast, and I recommend flattening the thicker part so it cooks more evenly. Wrap it in plastic or a Ziploc bag, then smack it a bit with a pan. Doesn't have to be perfect here, just try to even it out a little. Season both sides with salt, heat a pan with about 4 grams of oil, and sear it 2 minutes on one side, flip it 2 minutes on the other side, and one tool I recommend that will make your life way easier is using a food thermometer. That way you make sure that you do never overcook your chicken, take it off the heat, then plate everything up, drizzle the sauce on top, that by the way has 10 calories per 10 grams, so it's super easy to track, and now you've got one of the highest quality protein meals you can make with a diet score of around 1.04. Let me know in the comments if you like these more informational videos, and I will definitely make more like this. I made a cookbook that's helped over 10,000 people lose weight. It has over 250 recipes, and I'm constantly updating it with new ones, which you get for free once you've purchased it.